Hello everyone and welcome to the Young and the Restless official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The tension in Genoa City simmers just beneath the surface, ready to erupt at any moment. And at the center of it all stands Phyllis Summers, a woman who never backs down from a challenge, especially when it comes to Kane Ashby. Their paths are set to collide once again, and when they do, sparks are guaranteed to fly, not just from old chemistry, but from the raw, unresolved emotions that still linger between them. Phyllis has always had a way of getting under Kane's skin, pressing on the very wounds he tries so hard to hide, and there is no topic more volatile than Lily Winters. The mere mention of Lily is enough to stir something deep within Kane, something pained and restless, and Phyllis knows it. Now that she's come face to face with Lily following her return to Genoa City, that encounter may become the very weapon she uses to provoke Kane further, to remind him of everything that went wrong and everything he's trying to forget. As the memories resurface, so too does the anger that Kane has struggled to contain, especially when it comes to the deception that shattered his trust. Phyllis, never one to hold her tongue, might remind him that she was the one who stood up for him, the one who saw just how cruel it was for Lily to go along with such a devastating ruse. Kane had been consumed with fear, believing that Lily and the twins were truly in danger, his mind spiraling with worst-case scenarios, his heart breaking with every passing moment of uncertainty. To learn that it had all been part of a calculated plan, one orchestrated with Victor Newman's involvement, left a scar that runs deep. And now, Kane has done the unthinkable. He's walked away from Lily completely, cutting her out of his life as if that's the only way to survive the betrayal. Phyllis, sensing both his pain and his vulnerability, may lean into that moment, insisting that maybe, just maybe, this clean break is exactly what he needed. From that fragile emotional ground, something far more dangerous begins to take shape. A proposition wrapped in temptation, intrigue, and just a hint of recklessness. As April 8th approaches, Phyllis is poised to make her move, delivering an offer that could change everything between them. It's not just about business, and it's certainly not just about revenge. It's about reigniting a connection that once blurred the lines between strategy and desire. Phyllis might remind Kane that he is no longer bound by Lily's expectations, no longer living under the shadow of her judgment, and that freedom opens doors he once kept firmly closed. There's a seductive promise in her words, an invitation to not only rebuild the partnership in the corporate world, but to revisit the passion they once shared behind closed doors. For Phyllis, the idea of mixing business with pleasure isn't a risk, it's an opportunity, one she's more than willing to explore again. But beneath that enticing surface lies a darker, more calculated motive, one fueled by a shared enemy, Victor Newman. Kane's desire for revenge burns steadily, a quiet but relentless fire, and Phyllis is quick to recognize it, because she carries a similar flame of her own. Victor once manipulated her into signing Chancellor back into his control, a move that still stings with humiliation and regret, and she hasn't forgotten it. Now, standing at the edge of another potential alliance, Phyllis may suggest that together they could strike back in ways Victor would never see coming. She might argue that when it comes to taking down someone like Victor, there's no such thing as too much revenge, no such thing as going too far. Even after her own bold act of vengeance, stealing the Newman Empire, Phyllis isn't satisfied. Chaos, after all, is where she thrives, and the chance to create more of it is simply too tempting to resist. The atmosphere thickens as the scene shifts to the GCAC bar, where the weight of their shared history hangs in the air like an unspoken challenge. Their exchange is anything but calm. It's charged, layered with tension, desire, and the ghosts of everything they've been through. Phyllis doesn't hold back, laying her cards on the table with a boldness that only she can carry, making it clear that she wants their alliance back, not just in the boardroom but in every sense of the word. She offers temptation not as a question but as a possibility waiting to be claimed, urging Cain to consider what they could accomplish together if they stopped holding back. And yet, for all her confidence, there is no guarantee that Cain will take the bait. His pain is still fresh, his anger still unresolved, and the betrayal he endured hasn't loosened its grip on his heart. Even so, Phyllis refuses to be deterred, because if there's one thing she believes, it's that persistence can break down even the strongest walls. Cain may hesitate, caught between the pull of his past and the uncertainty of his future. But Phyllis is already moving forward, already envisioning what comes next. As Cain continues to wrestle with the fallout of Lily's betrayal, his emotions remain a volatile mix of sorrow and rage, leaving him vulnerable in ways he may not fully understand. And in that vulnerability, Phyllis sees both risk and opportunity, a chance to reshape the narrative and pull him into something new, something unpredictable. The question that lingers, heavy and unanswered, is whether Cain will embrace the chaos she offers or walk away before it consumes them both. The night stretches on in Genoa City, and as the hum of quiet conversations fills the GCAC bar, the space between Phyllis and Cain feels anything but calm. Every glance they exchange carries weight, every word laced with implication, as though they are both standing at the edge of something neither fully trusts, yet neither can resist. Cain's silence speaks volumes, his mind clearly torn between the bitterness of what he's lost and the dangerous allure of what's being offered to him now. The betrayal by Lily still lingers like a shadow over his thoughts, refusing to fade, refusing to be ignored. And yet, Phyllis stands there as a living contradiction, bold, unapologetic, and offering him a path forward that feels equal parts reckless and liberating. She doesn't ask him to forget the past. Instead, she dares him to use it, to turn his pain into power, to channel everything he's feeling into something that could reshape his future. And in that moment, the tension between them becomes something almost electric, charged with possibility and uncertainty. As the conversation deepens, the emotional stakes begin to rise, pulling Cain further into a storm he can no longer pretend to avoid. Phyllis leans into the moment with calculated precision, reminding him not only of what he's endured, but of what he deserves: freedom, control, and perhaps even a sense of justice that has long eluded him. Her words carry a rhythm that is both persuasive and provocative, urging him to consider that walking away from Lily wasn't just an ending, but the beginning of something entirely new. The idea lingers in Cain's mind, fragile but persistent, as he wrestles with the reality that the life he once fought so hard to protect no longer exists in the same way. There's a flicker of something in his expression, hesitation, curiosity, maybe even temptation, as he listens, caught between instinct and impulse. Phyllis, ever perceptive, sees that flicker and presses just a little harder, knowing that sometimes all it takes is a single moment of vulnerability to change everything. And then, almost seamlessly, the conversation shifts back to the one name that continues to loom over them both: Victor Newman. The mere thought of him seems to reignite the fire in Cain's eyes, a reminder of the manipulation, the control, and the games that have cost him so much. Phyllis doesn't need to say much to fan those flames. She simply positions herself as an ally, someone who understands exactly what it feels like to be outplayed and underestimated, Together, they begin to explore the idea of retaliation, not as an act of desperation but as a strategic move, a way to reclaim power from a man who rarely loses. The plan is still unspoken, still taking shape in the quiet spaces between their words, but the intent is unmistakable. There is something undeniably dangerous about the way they align in that moment. Two forces driven by resentment and ambition, both willing to push boundaries if it means getting what they want. Yet, beneath all the strategy and ambition, there is still something undeniably personal simmering between them, something that refuses to be ignored. Phyllis doesn't shy away from it. In fact, she leans into it, allowing the conversation to drift into more intimate territory with a confidence that is both disarming and deliberate. She reminds Kane, subtly but unmistakably, of the connection they once shared, of the passion that blurred the lines between business and desire. It's not just nostalgia, it's an invitation, a suggestion that what they had before could be even more powerful now, free from the complications that once held them back. Kane feels the pull of it, even if he doesn't immediately show it. The memory of something familiar and intoxicating stirring just beneath the surface. For a moment, the world around them seems to fade, leaving only the quiet intensity of what could be, hanging in the air like an unspoken promise. Still, the weight of everything he's been through refuses to loosen its grip entirely, and Kane finds himself standing at a crossroads, unsure which path to take. Trust doesn't come easily anymore, not after everything that's happened, and the idea of diving headfirst into something so unpredictable carries its own risks. Phyllis, however, thrives in that unpredictability, seeing it not as a danger but as an opportunity, a chance to rewrite the rules in her favor. She doesn't push too hard, not yet, but her presence alone is enough to keep the door open, enough to make sure Kane doesn't walk away without considering what's being offered. The silence between them becomes its own kind of conversation, filled with questions neither is quite ready to voice out loud. And in that silence, the future remains uncertain, balanced delicately between hesitation and desire. As the night begins to wind down, nothing is fully decided, yet everything feels as though it's already in motion. Kane may not have given Phyllis the answer she wants, but he hasn't shut her down either. And for her, that's more than enough, for now. The possibility of an alliance, both professional and personal, lingers like a spark waiting for the right moment to ignite. Meanwhile, Kane walks away carrying the same storm he arrived with. Only now, it's more complicated, more layered, shaped not just by his past, but by the choices that lie ahead. Phyllis watches him go with a knowing look, confident that this story between them is far from over, that sooner or later he'll be drawn back into her orbit. And as Genoa City settles into the quiet of the night, one thing becomes clear. The lines between revenge, desire, and ambition are beginning to blur, and when they finally collide, the fallout could change everything. As the first light of morning begins to creep over Genoa City, the quiet calm feels almost deceptive, as though the city itself is holding its breath in anticipation of what's to come. Kane carries the weight of the night with him, every word Phyllis spoke echoing in his mind long after he's left the bar behind. Sleep offers little escape, his thoughts tangled in a restless loop of betrayal, temptation, and the dangerous possibilities now unfolding before him. Lily's deception still cuts deep, a wound that refuses to fully close. And yet, Phyllis's voice lingers just as strongly, urging him to see beyond the pain and towards something sharper, something more powerful. It's a conflict that begins to reshape his perspective, slowly shifting him away from grief and towards something colder, more calculated. By the time the sun rises, there's a subtle but undeniable change in him, as though the man who walked into the GCAC the night before isn't quite the same one stepping into the day ahead. Meanwhile, Phyllis moves through the morning with a sense of quiet confidence, her mind already racing ahead to the next move in a game she's determined to win. She knows she planted a seed in Kane's mind, and now it's only a matter of time before it takes root, growing into something neither of them can ignore. For Phyllis, patience is just another strategy, a way to let anticipation build until it becomes impossible to resist. She replays their conversation in her head, analyzing every pause, every glance, every flicker of hesitation in Kane's eyes, and what she sees only strengthens her belief that he's closer to saying yes than he realizes. The idea of rebuilding their alliance, of merging ambition with desire, feels not just possible but inevitable. And beneath it all lies her hunger for something more. Something that goes beyond revenge or success, something that satisfies the restless, relentless drive that has always defined her. But as both of them begin to move forward, the shadow of Victor Newman looms larger than ever, an unspoken force that continues to shape their choices and fuel their motivations. Kane's anger toward Victor simmers beneath the surface, no longer chaotic but focused, as though he's beginning to channel it into something more deliberate. The idea of striking back is no longer just an emotional reaction, it's becoming a plan, a strategy waiting to be defined. Phyllis, with her own history of being manipulated and underestimated, fits seamlessly into that vision, offering not just partnership but insight, cunning, and a shared desire to tip the balance of power. Together, they represent a threat that Victor may not see coming. Two players willing to take risks others wouldn't dare consider. And in a city where power is everything, that kind of alliance has the potential to shift the entire landscape. Yet, even as ambition and revenge take center stage, the emotional undercurrent between them refuses to fade into the background. There's an intensity there that goes beyond strategy, something personal and unpredictable that neither of them can fully control. Phyllis leans into it, allowing the connection to deepen in subtle, deliberate ways, knowing that emotional ties can be just as powerful as any business deal. Kane, however, remains more guarded, his instincts urging caution even as he feels himself being drawn back into her orbit. The memory of what they once shared lingers like a ghost, impossible to ignore, and with each passing moment, it becomes harder to separate past from present. What starts as an alliance begins to blur into something far more complicated, where desire and intention intertwine in ways that could either strengthen them or destroy them. As the day unfolds, their paths inch closer once again, the distance between decision and action growing thinner with every passing hour. Kane begins to consider what it would mean to fully step into this new reality, to embrace not just the opportunity for revenge but the connection Phyllis is offering alongside it. It's a choice that carries weight, one that could define everything that comes next, and yet the uncertainty only seems to make it more compelling. Phyllis, ever the strategist, doesn't rush the moment, instead allowing the tension to build naturally, trusting that the pull between them will do the work for her. She knows that when Kane finally makes his move, it won't be out of impulse. It will be a decision he believes in, one that binds them together in ways neither of them can easily walk away from. And as the story continues to unfold, one thing becomes increasingly clear. This is no longer just about the past or even the present, but about the future they are on the verge of creating together. The lines between ally and adversary, between passion and power, grow thinner with each passing moment, leaving both Kane and Phyllis standing on uncertain ground. In Genoa City, where every choice carries consequences and every alliance comes at a cost, their next move could change everything. Whether it leads to triumph or devastation remains to be seen. But one truth is undeniable. The storm that's been building between them is far from over, and when it finally breaks, it will leave nothing untouched in its wake.